I've been told that you were born again, basically, 3 or 4 months ago, that you found a place where, and I'd like you to explain this to me, the toad. I'd like you to explain the toad to me.
Do you understand the toad?
Is it like ayahuasca?
No, it takes you to another level. Ayahuasca is nothing compared to this.
Is it called DMT?
Yes. The toad, and it's in the Sonora Desert and has a venom in it. And you smoke it. Once I tried it, boom! Everything is went so fast. And when I fell out, the only thing I was conscious about, I was out. My brain was still functioning, my thoughts, I could still talk to myself, I could hear my mind. And I was saying, I fucked up. And I killed myself.
Because you killed the ego.
Yeah, I'm dying. It was just really mind-blowing.
Spiritual in nature, though, right?
Yeah,
Like you're just...
Yeah, really, my whole life totally changed. It sounds like a movie script, but it's really the real deal.
At that moment, you're talking about like you come to and you are altered. You are altered and it stayed.
I don't know. I wake up, I'm happy, I'm laughing, I'm smiling, I think, what the
Really?
happened? Yeah.
Really?
Had no idea.
So sex, cocaine, championship belt, those weren't happiness?
Nothing, no. It lasts forever, but it was only 15 minutes. But it felt like hours. And it was frightening.
Because of that ego thing, because you realize you're small all of a sudden.
Yeah, once I realized that I'm nothing, I realized all my fancy clothes, my big clothes.
Can you explain to me why it makes you emotional just talking about it? Because I imagine the reason it makes you emotional is because for 4 decades you've been trying to find happy, man.
You know, when you think you know everything, then you realize you don't know anything. That's a big awakening. You can call it growth or you can call it divine intervention.
You do realize you're talking about the toad like someone would talk about God, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's God. I'm not going to put nothing in the same breath as God. Yeah, once you go there, it's just, you don't want to do nothing else again.
Well, it puts it all in the perspective. It lets you see that as much as this thing seems to be important, this is all temporary, and you're a part of forever.
And it also allows you to become comfortable with death.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I was fighting it. I was thinking, stop. I wanted to stop now. Just jump, stop this now. Stop, and the guy was like, hey, the show, I'm like, I can't do it. You gotta go for the ride, dude. And it was like, oh, man, it's like I'm dying. Things are going in my face. I'm seeing the Aztec things. I'm seeing the toads. I'm just seeing weird animals and things. They're just flying. It's like another chamber. It's boom, flashing. You're like, boom.
Yeah.
And you gone. It's like a rocket. You taking off. Boom.
Yeah, it's beyond your imagination.
You ever hear about the toad? And so we go in there, I smoke the pipe, we sit down on the floor, on the mattress and smoke it, and it hits me, boom, and I'm gone. Oh Lord, oh Lord. I am gone. I don't know where I'm in another dimension. I am gone. I have no body. I have nothing. I just have my energy. You don't exist, but you do. I'm getting 1,000 years of information within 15 minutes. So you imagine how fast it's coming to me.
And I think that one thing that happens when you do this is you're confronted with entities. Now, I don't know what these things are, but they seem to be communicating with you. And they seem to be talking to you, and they seem to know everything about you. So the question is, like, is that really your subconscious? Is this you know, what you know about yourself stripped down to some very bare, raw form, and then confronted with these psychedelics that perturb your visual cortex? So they provide you with all these intense visualizations. Or is it a chemical portal to another dimension?
Were they effulgent beings, light beings?
The way I describe them is they're complex geometric patterns made out of love and understanding, and that they're communicating with you. Look at that. That's very similar to what it feels like when you do dimethyltryptamine. And Alex has had
wow. I mean,
uncountable
just if
number
I
of
dropped a little
experiences.
purple barrel right now and just
That's
looked
right.
at that, I'd have a nice afternoon.
Like
Yep.
dimethyltryptamine is it's a natural occurring compound in the human brain. It's produced by your liver, your lungs, and there's a lot of evidence, at least in mammals, it's produced by your pineal gland, which is literally your third eye.
DMT is the strongest hallucinogen there is. You might think, if you had never had a psychedelic experience, that it sort of begins like the Bach B minor fugue and goes from there as you rise into the realms of light and union with the deity or something like that. That's not what happens on DMT. What happens on DMT I referred to this morning. A troop of elves smashes down your front door and rotates and balances the wheels on the after-death vehicle, present you with the bill, and then depart. And it's completely paradigm shattering. I mean, you know, union with the white light you could handle. An invasion of your apartment by jeweled self-dribbling basketballs from hyperspace that are speaking in demotic Greek is not something that you anticipated and could handle. Sometimes people say, is DMT dangerous? It sounds so crazy. Is it dangerous? The answer is only if you fear death by astonishment. Remember how you laughed when this possibility was raised, and a moment will come that will wipe the smile right off your face. Well, one thing about it, I mean, let me say a little bit more about it. One thing that endears DMT to me is, I like to say, it doesn't affect your mind. It doesn't seem to affect your mind. In other words, you don't change under the influence of DMT. You don't become a kinder, gentler person. You don't sink into, you know, a line of drool from one corner of your mouth as you sit there twitching. You don't change. What happens is the world is completely replaced. Instantly, 100%, it's all gone. And what is put in its place, not one iota of what is put in its place was taken from this world. So it's a 100% reality channel switch. They don't even retain three-dimensional space and linear time. It's not like you go to an exotic place, Morocco or New Guinea. It's like reality is swapped out for something else. What you're looking at is literally the unspeakable. The indescribable falls into your lap. And when you try, you're loaded, right? You're there, and you're trying to explain to yourself what's happening. Lay back and you see this thing which looks like a rose or a chrysanthemum, this orange spinning flower-like thing. It takes it about 15 seconds to form, and it's like a membrane. And then you break through it. You break through it, and then you're in this place. And there's an enormous cheer which goes up as you pass through this membrane. Some of you may know the Pink Floyd song about how the gnomes have learned a new way to say hooray. They're waiting. And you burst in to this place and you're saying, geez, this stuff is really speedy. I mean, that's like describing a space shuttle launching as noisy. You say, this stuff is, and you say, am I all right? Am I all right? That's the first question. You weren't ready. And it's completely real. It's in a way more real than the contents of ordinary reality, because see how the shadows here are muted and there's a lot of transitional zones from one color to another and so forth. This isn't like that. This is crystalline, clear, solid. You can see the light reflected in the depths of these objects, and everything is very brightly colored, and everything is moving very, very rapidly. And there are entities there. It's not about calling them up or the whisperings of them. No, they're in your face. And they're right here, and they're worse than in your face, because what they do is they jump into your chest, and then they jump out. And so you're like this. And you have to keep saying, keep breathing, don't freak out, pay attention. And the entities speak to you. And they speak both in English and another way, which we'll get to in a minute. But in English, what they say is, do not give way to wonder. Hang on. Don't just go gaga with disbelief. Pay attention, pay attention. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to show you something. They are very aware of the fleeting nature of this encounter. And they say, don't just spiral off into amazement and start raving about God and all that. Forget that. Pay attention to what we're doing. And then what they're doing is they're dancing around, they're jumping around, they're emerging explicitly out of the background, bounding toward you, jumping into your chest, bounding away, and they make offerings. And they love you. That's the other thing. They say this. They say, we love you. You come so rarely. And, here you are. Welcome, welcome. And then they make these offerings. And the offerings are objects of some sort. And now remember, you are not changed. You're exactly the person you were a few minutes before. So you're not exalted or depressed. You're just trying to make sense of this. And the objects which they offer are like Fabergé eggs, or exquisitely tooled and enameled pieces of machinery, but they don't have rigid outlines. These objects are themselves somehow alive and transforming and changing. So when these creatures, I call them tykes, when these tykes offer you these objects, you grok it, you look at it, and immediately, because you are yourself, you have this realization, my God, if I could get this thing back into my world, history would never be the same. A single one of these objects is somehow, you can tell by looking at it, this would confound my world beyond hope of recovery. It cannot exist. What I'm being shown is a tiny area where miracles are being transformed. And the creatures, the tykes, are singing. They are speaking in a kind of translinguistic glossolalia. They are actually making these objects with their voices. They are singing these things into existence. And what the message is do what we're doing. You can do what we're doing. Do it. And they get quite pushy about this. They say, damn it, do it. And you're saying, but, and saying, no, do it now, do it. And saying, I can't handle this, and then this kind of reaction goes on for a while. Well, then I don't take credit for it. It was not willed, but like something comes up from inside of you. Something comes out of you, and you discover you can do it. That you can use language to condense objects into existence in this space. It's the dream of all magic. But here it is, folks, happening in real time. And then they're just delighted. They just go mad with delight and turn somersaults and turn themselves inside out. And they all jump into your chest at once. And after many encounters of this sort, when I first did DMT, I couldn't bring anything out of it. I just said, it's the damnedest thing I've ever encountered, and I can't say anything about it, and I don't think I ever will be able to say anything about it. But by going back repeatedly and working at it, I think I've gotten a pretty coherent, well, let's not go that far. I think I've got a pretty clear metaphor, anyway, for what's happening in there. And I think a lot of people have this experience. When you talk to shamans, they say, oh, well, yes, the helping spirits. Those are the helping spirits. They can help you cure, find lost object. You didn't know about helping spirits? I said, well, I knew, but I had no idea, that it was so literal. Say, oh no, that's the helping spirits. But then the other thing they say, if you press a shaman, if you say, well, what exactly is a helping spirit? Say, well, a helping spirit is an ancestor. Say, you mean to tell me that those are dead people in there? Say, well, yes, ancestor, dead person. You didn't know about ancestors, apparently. This is what happens to people who die. And you say, my God, is it possible that what we're breaking into here is an ecology of souls? That these are not extraterrestrials from Zenebel Ganubi or Zeta Reticuli Beta. These are the dear departed. And they exist in a realm which, for want of a better word, let's call eternity. And somehow this drug, or whatever it is allowing me to see across the veil.
In conclusion to my research of the DMT experience is I myself have seen I've been on a lot of trips in my life, and these sound very similar to the ones that I had. They'll see aliens, they see the earth will shake real drastically, and they'll be taken into another realm, and they'll speak to this woman in a forest, and she gets really angry at him, and she's trying to tell him something, and he can't understand it. And these are terrifying, and it always terrifies the individual that changes them. And one thing that really took me aback, last comment, is how this is all New Ageism. It's never a Christian experience. It's not even, some people say they've seen God and such, but it's not the Christian God. There's no exaltation of Christ, and this is fully demonic. I believe you loosen yourself from this reality and you have no hedge about you. The Bible speaks of God putting a hedge around his children to protect them from these things that they see, and you're completely susceptible to these beings whenever you let loose of this realm, I believe. Now, this is my analysis. I believe these things are demonic. People are tapping into these things, and they're encouraging others. I am going to say never do DMT. It's probably one of the most profound things that I have ever researched that will turn someone completely away from the right path. Never, ever do DMT. These things are demons. But until we speak again, Lord of peace be with you. Amen.